me say something that may sound uncomfortable. Many of you are not stuck. You are simply self-sabotaging. Not because you're not smart, not because you're not gifted, but because you are not emotionally aware enough to interrupt your own patterns. You keep repeating reactions that you've never examined. You keep making decisions that you've never questioned. And then you call it life happening to you. No, it's you happening to your life. Welcome back to Luxora, your journey through struggles into life. Join us as we commence a new series on emotional intelligence titled Mastering the Inner World. You're listening to the first episode of this series titled Why Smart People Self-Sabotage. Most people think intelligence is how well you think. While that is correct, emotional intelligence goes beyond that. Emotional intelligence is about how well you manage what you feel. Emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize emotions as they come, understand what they mean, manage your responses, and navigate people wisely. Here's the upgrade from Emotional Intelligence 2.0. One of the most important ideas is this. Emotions are data, not directive. So just because you feel something does not mean you should act on it. Emotions are signals and not instructions. But many people treat their emotions like they are commands. And that is where self-sabotage begins. Let's talk about self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is rarely loud. It is patterned, it is persistent, it is predictable, and most times it is emotional. Let us break it down. Self-sabotage simply means doing something often without realizing it, such that it stops you from succeeding or being happy. And in this context of emotional intelligence, here is the cycle. You feel something, which could be a trigger, you don't recognize it clearly, you react impulsively, you create damage, you regret it, and then you repeat it. This is emotional autopilot. According to Travis Bradbury, people who lack emotional awareness are far more likely to repeat destructive patterns simply because they don't break the cycle. You cannot break what you cannot see. Now, here's why smart people struggle more. This is important. Intelligent people often justify their emotions quickly, they explain away their reactions, and they defend their behaviors logically. So instead of saying, I overreacted, they say, I had a valid reason for this. Their intelligence becomes a shield for their immaturity. You can be intellectually right, but emotionally wrong. And emotional wrongness still creates damage. Now let's take a look at the Bible. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 32. Better a patient person than a warrior. So from this passage, God is trying to say that Moses didn't fail because he lacked instruction. He failed because he lacked emotional control in critical moments. So revelation is not just enough. You can hear God clearly but still react poorly. And spiritual sensitivity without emotional discipline is incomplete maturity. Now let's move from awareness to training, which is the core of this series. First of all, we'll start by working on the notice it first rule. So for the next 3 days, don't try to change your emotions yet. When something begins to shift internally, ask these questions. What am I feeling right now? When did it start? And what triggered it? This builds awareness. And as taught in Emotional Intelligence 2.0, awareness comes first before control. Secondly, start an emotional pattern tracker. At the end of each day, write down the following. One moment you reacted emotionally. what you felt, what you did, and what you should have done. This is how emotional patterns become visible. Thirdly, interrupt the cycle, the micro pause practice. So the next time you feel an emotional surge, just pause for 10 seconds. Do nothing. No reply, no reaction, no expression, just pause. That pause is where growth begins. Now let's reflect a little bit deeper. What emotions do you struggle to control the most? What situations bring out the worst in you? Do you notice your patterns or do you just notice your consequences? Are you honest about your reactions or do you justify them? If someone should study your emotional patterns for the next 30 days, would they call you stable or reactive? Now repeat this after me with intention. I refuse to live on emotional autopilot. I will study my patterns. I will interrupt destructive cycles. I will not let my emotions control my decisions. I am becoming aware and I am becoming disciplined. Finally, here's your weekly activation from Luxora. For the next 3 days, track your emotions 3 times a day. Write down one trigger daily. Practice an intentional pause before reacting. You know what? Don't aim for perfection yet. Aim for awareness. A lot of people want change, but only few people study themselves enough to change. Self-awareness is uncomfortable because it removes excuses, but you know what? It gives you power. So in our next episode, we'll go deeper into self-awareness because it's one thing to recognize your emotion, and secondly, it's another thing to understand it clearly. And this is Luxora, your journey through struggles into light. And we are not walking blindly.